It's dedicated to the latest massacres that to the victims of the latest massacres in Buffalo, and to the young babies that lost their life um, at Robb Elementary. I hope that this dad cipher will help dads to look at hip hop as a way to talk to our kids about gun violence. So I hope you guys know that this will be something that's from my heart, and it weighs heavy on my mind. So I have um, I'm just basically going to riff off of something that I wrote to share with you guys, and I hope that this will help you guys have a conversation with your children. So, with no further ado, this is the Dad Cipher. Make sure you write in the comments your thoughts, feedback, and that sort of thing. So, here we go. Today, a father desperately tries to hold back tears behind dark sunglasses. Another father will clench his fist and his eyes pointed to the sky, releasing a harsh, silent scream saying, God, why me? There's a husband who's a first time dad who planned out his little girl or little boy summer vacation. He had in his mind images of cotton candy, zip lines, movie tickets, and popcorn. Today, that father, he is paralyzed by guilt. He wonders if he could have done this or that to reverse this horror. His nightmare began the moment he stepped up to that yellow line and he was basked by the red and blue lights of the first responders' vehicles. This dad realizes that this will be the first Father's Day that he will celebrate without his little girl or little boy. So after all the politicians and the political pundits give their, yellow, my heart goes out, and their obligatory prayers, I want you guys to think about that dad who will not be able to pass their child's room because in his mind he know he'll be pretending that he can still hear that kid's laughter. He will break down when he sees pictures of what they wanted to be when they grow up. And this room will become a sacred space, a suspended animation for these fathers, especially for the fathers who lost their children at Robb Elementary in Texas. Let us have a moment of silence for these dads. Thank you. For those of us who are fortunate enough to still be able to embrace our babies with our manly hugs, we have to try to figure out how do we talk to our kids about these issues. Luckily for us, and of course, with Dad Cypher, I use hip hop as a way to help us to deal with things with fatherhood. As I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, the message that's clicked in my mind, and it's a 1982 song by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, but it's still relevant to today. It still gives me the difficult dialogue to have these discussions with my kids. So I'm going to just go to the fourth verse of the message. And in this particular song, this son is talking to his father about the violent traumas that he experiences at school. So give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and play this. How I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too because. Oops, I'm sorry, y'all. Cued the wrong one. This is the one I want to begin with. Like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. My son said, Daddy, I don't want to go to school because the teacher's a jerk. He must think I'm a fool. So, as we listen to that first part of the song, we may say, this in the verse he says, my son said, Daddy, I don't want to go to school because the teacher's a jerk. He must think I'm a fool. And all the kids smoke reefer. I think it'd be cheaper if I got a job and learned to be a street sweeper. We as dads oftentimes dismiss these comments as anti-intellectual or as our kids being disrespectful to authority figures. But what would happen if we paid attention to our children trying to show us the violence that they endure Monday through Friday? Do we think about our teachers who are not allowed to show our children love while they demand that they show obedience and compliance? Unfortunately, y'all, as an educator, and with my experience, I would say a lot of us as educators are not allowed to show critical love and engage with children as human beings. Every day, teachers are forced to conduct business as usual teachings to the so-called top tier. These educators are threatened to meet standardized tests. They cannot teach our children emotional intelligence and empathy. Many become numb watching these students from the bottom rung self-medicate. They know that these kids are headed to a purposeless and bleak future, but they feel powerless. And it is in these grounds that the hatred begins to grow into our children's mind. The miseducation of our youth is violence. And as Grandmaster Flash in the Furious 5 continues with the verse, it said, because it's all about the money, ain't a thing funny when you gotta have a con in this land of milk and honey. From our classrooms to our home life, our children witness us trying as dads to make $1 out of 15 cents. And what do? They see money as freedom. And of course, you probably say to yourself, of course, we want the best for our kids. We want them to be money earners. We want them to be productive citizens. But I want us to ask ourselves, do we as dads really give our kids a vision? Without a vision, our children will perish. And these teenagers that committed these heinous acts of violence in Buffalo, killing the elders, and in Robb Elementary, killing the babies. You can't tell me that these kids had a vision. Because when you have a vision, you are not threatened by others' light. And when these kids, these teenagers came in and massacred the elders and these babies, they were dimming lights. Because they didn't see the light in themselves, they extinguished the light in others so we could all feel their darkness. Our children lacking purpose and vision is violence. In the song, he says, I can't walk through the park because it's crazy after dark. Keep my hand on the gun because they got me on the run. I feel like an outlaw. Broke my last glass jaw. Heard them say, you want some more? living on a seesaw. For our children, especially our male children, the gun represents power. Our children are baptized in a dangerous world where males are socialized not to show fear or empathy because it's considered weakness. We tell them to man up, don't come home with a glass jaw. And then we act mortified when they act out in fury and violence. Many male children are taught that mental health and crime is for the weak. They are desensitized through to violence, emboldened by hate speech, political posturing, misinformation that makes them think that humanity is just a disposable commodity. And what have we done as parents? We sit back idly while our kids are inducted in a cult, in a mob mentality. Then we act surprised when they become domestic terrorists. American male socialization is violence. Dr. David Wall Rice has a book out, y'all, that's called Balance. And he says that our children begin as empty containers. And we fill them up with our stories so that they can form their own identities. When we as dads, when we don't teach our children about the sins of our nation, are we really protecting them or are we protecting ourselves? America suffers from historical amnesia. The historic amnesia of Native American genocide, manifest destiny, Japanese internment camps, Chinese railroad building, and enslaved Black labor. How many lies will we watch on the History Channel about the men who built America? Is there no surprise our sins pop up out of nowhere like cicadas? It's our inability to share our truths that lead our children to violence. Lastly, the song ends with a child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because God knows what you'll go through. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Father message challenges us as dads to teach faith and love to overcome spiritual and psychological warfare. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are not battling against flesh and blood. We must affirm our children. And if we see fatherless youth in our community, we have to show these kids unconditional love as well. Dads, we must teach our children to look beyond stereotypes and not be blind or simply tolerate differences, but we got to teach them to respect all humanity. Because we see from what happened in Buffalo and Robb Elementary, what happens with those to our children based on the hate that we give them. I keep wondering as I bob my head to the song, The Message, when are we going to change our mindset? When are we going to create a strategy to change? When are we going to take love in action? Ladies and gentlemen, our children are living close to the edge. What will you as a father do with your platform? How will you teach your children to demonstrate critical love? That's all I have to say. I encourage you guys to write comments, write anything in the message about your thoughts, and I just pray for the victims of the victims of Buffalo and Robb Elementary. If you're a father out there with your kid, man, hug them tonight, and This message is not about gun control, none of that. I don't care about that. I just care about, are we teaching our children love? Are we teaching are we allowing teachers to be critical, to teach um, moments of love and understanding? This is the Large Professor. I'm out.